What's going on, guys? Aiden Smith, Paint Your Path podcast. We got a special guest in the house, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joel Mercado.
What's going on?
We got Joe Carfagno in the house. Big Joe off the coast of New Jersey from Carfagno Professional Painting. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dude,
Yes,
thanks for
yes.
joining.
Yeah,
Man,
we're
thank
excited
you.
for this one, dude.
Yeah, I've been waiting
Joe,
for this.
yeah, man. Joe is building something really special over in Jersey, and he's worked with me and Joel, so he's got the full gambit. And we actually off the pod before we started, he was talking about getting his second sales rep, and we're shooting for the stars right now. Talk to me about what's going on, where you're at, what's life like?
So, I mean, where I'm at now is I'm slowly kind of delegating a lot more. We have about 7, 8 months ago, we hired an admin who's been working out really well.
Mhm.
We hired on a social media manager about 6 months ago, and she's killing it. Um, I've been doing a lot of the sales. Um, Actually, I would say 80% of them.
Right.
But what I'm doing recently is I've been training my admin who's there now, currently in sales, and he's been doing a great job. And what we're doing now is hiring a VA to do all our appointment setting. And then we're going to transition Mike, who's our current appointment setter, into full-time sales. So yeah, so we're really excited about that. Take a little bit of pressure off of me so that,
Yeah.
when Joel always told me, you're wearing too many hats, so I'm not just giving up, like taking off my hat, but I could just kind of oversee everything and
Right, you're
see
building
where
an organization, right?
right. And then I could kind of see from, like you guys like to say, like a 10,000 foot view
Yeah.
of what's actually wrong and what we need to fix. When you're in the midst of it, like I am now, it's tough to see those little problems that can turn into big problems,
Mhm.
you know?
Can we
Love
just
it.
take a step back just for a second? What was your journey into the painting business? We always like to talk about painting the path, right? Like, where were you at? Just give us like from day one how you got into this business.
That's a funny story. So about, about 25 years ago, I was living in Cape May County, and I just came off a career. Um, It didn't work out so well for me. I don't want to get into that, but so I started painting, and I worked with this company. My first company I worked for was a CertaPro.
Oh,
Yeah, CertaPro.
Aiden and Joe, let's go.
Yeah, and I did okay with them. I worked in about 6 months, and then he sold his franchise, so he got his jobs with another company called John Mitchell Painting. Now, the owner of CertaPro, he was a really good business guy, but he was kind of standoffish, and I really didn't see what he was doing. I really couldn't learn, and I was just getting into the painting, so I didn't care. And then when I went to work for John Mitchell, this guy was really he was professional. He had his own building. He had like 5 trucks. He had someone in his office. Never seen him paint. I always seen him coming in his golf clothes, going to the golf course every day. You know, and so I started working with a guy named John Boyer, who he's painting for like 20 years. And I lied to these guys. I told them I was painting for like 10 years, and I've only been painting for like 6 months. So I was painting with John one day. He was underneath the ladder, and he goes, "How long you been painting?" I'm like, "Look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just started." He goes, "Yeah, well, it shows."
Get it?
So that was a real blow to my ego. And then, like, from that point on, I'm like, "Look, I'm gonna learn this business." And John taught me everything, from brushwork to rolling to spraying to doing everything, and a couple years later he passed on, and I really got the hang of it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start my own thing. And so, like, back in the early, I would say like 1999, I started JC Painting, right? I got a little Ford Ranger with a cap on it, and I went to town, started working. I had me and one other guy. I was always in the field. I knew nothing about estimating, knew nothing about anything. I just knew how to paint. So my first couple jobs, I was coming in super low. I was just pretty much working for a paycheck. But I was working for myself, so I didn't care. And then I had some personal issues, a couple years after that, and I shut it down. And then did some other things for a while, you know. And then in 2007, I met my my first wife, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna start this up again. You know, so I started up again, and this time it went really well. Like I knew how to paint, but I still didn't know the business like I do now. You know, there's so many things I look back when I was doing that if I would have done them the right way, it would have been so much better. But that's hindsight, right? So I got hooked up with this developer, Ziegler and Rinaldi. They were a really big developer, and they built like 15, 20 homes a year. And I hooked up with another developer. So I had two builders. I had a crew on each builder, and then I had like a small residential crew. So it was doing pretty good, you know. Some of those issues that I had doing the first business came sneaking back up on me in the second one.
Right.
So that had to get shut down in 2012. I kind of stopped doing it again for a while, and over the next 5-6 years, it's the best way to put this. I grew up. All right.
Amen.
I got rid of my childish ways and became a man, right? As the Bible says. And so I was up in Hunterdon County at the time, and I started another business. This time it was Carfagno Professional Painting. I started out with me and one other guy, and we were working. Then I hired another guy, and then I kind of pulled out a little bit and was just working on estimates, and things were going well. I had 4 guys. We were doing good. The only problem that was missing was my daughter. My daughter was all the way in Cape May County. So she was 3.5 hours away. So I wanted to be closer to her. So I thought about it for a while, and started advertising in Ocean County, where I'm at now. And my calendar filled up for like 2 months. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make the move. You know, I moved down here. And again, so I started out with one guy. Me and him, we were just painting like about 6 months, and then I hired another guy. So I started getting busier. So I knew how to get work. I knew how to use my lead resources. I kind of fell in this designer guy, Phil, who called me up and goes, "You painted my his mortgage lady's house or whatever." Right? And I'm like, okay. He's like, he told me about you and I want to use you. So I did a job for him. He liked us, and we started getting a lot of work from him. And the funny thing is I never painted his mortgage lady's house. I don't know who they were talking about, but we kind of met, and they kind of stuck, and I'm still rolling with them.
Get to it, man.
That's so you know, so like 5 years ago, I started down here. Like I said, I started with one guy and 2 guys, and then I kind of slowly built it. You know, 2 years ago was when my game changed totally. That's when I hired that guy right there, Joel Mercado. Right, I was doing what, maybe 400,000 or 500,000 a year, Joe.
Yeah, you were about 400 or 500.
Yeah, and it was me and 2 guys. I was probably on the brush still, maybe 40% of the time. And then after being with Joel for about 6 months, I kind of got off. And we just kind of started building from there. I got more work. I landed a couple builders. I don't really like doing work for a lot of builders, but I have like 3 now that are consistent. They're good, and they kind of supplement me when I need to, you know. But I think one of the biggest changes is just having a coach, having someone to talk to, you know, and you know, there's a coach for everything. Like Aiden, like when I used you, right? You coached me in DripJobs, production management training.
Shout out to the sponsor.
Right. Yeah. And all different things. So like, I believe that, you know, without coaches, I would be stuck back where I was, you know, wearing 15 different hats, trying to handle everything, coming home exhausted. You know, like I left the house this morning at 6:45, you know, and I just got home 5 minutes before this, you know, so I'm still worn out, but you know, my day's a little different. Like I see my wife during the day, she's at the office, you know, we get to spend time with each other, you know, so I just think one of the biggest changes for me was just being consistent with the little things, right? And then it starts to build, you know, and there's no excuses why anybody can't run a successful business. I mean, if you do the right things and you stay consistent and you're persistent, right, you're going to do it.
Yeah. Listen, I want to highlight, dude, you said a lot in the, like so many gems there that I want to highlight 2 main gems. Guys, listen to what he said. It sounds like you did this 4 times.
Yes.
Think about that. 4 times where some of our listeners are doing it for the first time and they think it's the end of the world. That, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out. I don't know how we're going to get there. You opened, closed, opened, closed, opened, closed, and moved and said, I'm doing it. I'm not quitting. Guys, you have to understand what he said. Consistency and persistence, right, is what got him to where he's at today. And I want to highlight the second thing. You said $400,000, the fourth time around, right? You figured it out, $400,000 to $500,000. What are you going to do this year? What are you projected to do right now?
$2.5 million.
$2.5 million. And that's within a 2-year time frame, barely 2 years, by the way. You
Yeah.
went from 400 to going to do 2.5 this year. You probably might even fall into 3 because you
We're
keep
hoping.
it.
The way
People
he's
are-
moving, I believe it.
Yeah, man. But like, I wanted to highlight that because I think a lot of people forget that those closers weren't failures. They were learning lessons. Because if you think that you're just going to get it right the first time, I'm telling you, think about it. Even Aiden's journey. Aiden worked for a commercial business, a corporate business, just like he worked for Soda Pro. He had his other location that he ended up saying, hey, I'm moving on. I'm going to do this other location. People see guys like us and they're like, oh man, they got it all figured out. Nothing ever happened. We all have the same journey, right? We had to figure it out. We had to stumble through shit. We had to eat shit, right? We had to find the right people. We had to be in the right groups. We had to be in the right mindset and move forward. So I appreciate you really starting from the beginning to where you're at today, because people forget there's always been a beginning and it was never pretty, right? So I just wanted to highlight that because I think those are 2 big wins that you have to highlight. And Joe, I know personally, because I work with you, is that I'm super proud of you because you are super persistent.
Yeah.
That is a quality about you that you've learned through life and said, I'm not giving up. That's a quality of yours. So I want to highlight that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And another thing I've learned as well is that there's never really an end to this. There's never like a moment where I want to say, well, I got this. Because there's always something else that comes up. There's always something else I could learn, so just staying humble and learning and just never giving up. Like, with coaches, like, I don't think I'm ever going to give up with coaches. I think that that's an invaluable resource for me. It's just having someone to talk to. Even Joel, like, you've been my painting coach now for 2 years. And I think out of those 2 years, what I think over a year of it, we did mindset training.
Yeah, dude. I wanted you to be unbreakable, man. That was the goal.
Well, I mean, think back to your story, right? It was not story, but like actual what happened. It was you had to make a decision, right? It was I needed to grow up, right? And now once that happened, everything changed. So imagine doubling down on that and not just learning the systems in the business, but you, right? And your decision making. And that just is a trickle down effect. So yeah, that's everything, right? To now
It is.
about to do $3 million.
Yeah.
It's
Well, we're
insane.
blessed. I'm blessed, and first and foremost, we keep God first in our lives, and that's something that Lucy and I we do together every morning, and just having that routine, that keeps us grounded. And do I feel like doing it every day? Absolutely not. I would say that more times than not, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's those days that I do it when I don't want to that have the most effect, on me.
I would say that's a common theme of the high level guys we have on. It's the routines. It's the, hey, I don't feel like it, but I did it, right? It's the roadmap of, all right, I know if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get this result, right? And doubling down on that every single day, doing the small things, being consistent. Like over time, it pays off,
And one thing I know too is like everybody, no matter how successful we are, we all have demons, things that haunt us. And I'll be transparent and I'll share this, that, it took me till I was 50 years old to really get everything together. So just think about that. Like I wasted almost 3/4 of my life doing things, but I used to look at that as like a real detriment. Like I was ashamed, I was embarrassed. But now I kind of took a different approach. And, with the help of Joel and, my wife and pastor, it's like, I look at those as learning opportunities. Like I wouldn't be where I'm at today unless I went through what I went through,
And think about the people you're inspiring, right? Not only being on this podcast and sharing that, but I know in your team, you're building leaders, right? Like you got guys in your team that you're building up to give the company to, right? Basically. and
Yeah.
let them run the organization. So I think that's like you're taking everything you learn in that journey and what you've kind of been through, and you're basically saying, I get to do something with this that not many people ever will get to do, you know? So maybe could you share a little bit about that? Because I think that's so interesting, kind of the dynamic you have with your team.
So, like Justin, my project manager, he started with me like 4 years ago, and he didn't have a lick of painting experience.
Yeah.
None. He came to work in a black Audi and like a lunch pail with some brushes in there. And,
That's
and
awesome.
we just started training him, but he had such a desire to learn the business that he watched YouTube videos. He was constantly like impaled in this business, you know? And I remember I gave him one of our first cabinet job we did. It was crazy how we used to do them, but I was out front of this lady's house with like 12 by 15 drop cloths and a set of horses and a 24-foot ladder stretched out across. And I had all the cabinets laid out. We were spraying them. And
Gosh.
I think we all been there at one point.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was his first spray job. And I'm like, I showed him the sprayer. I'm like, you think you can do it? He's like, yeah. And he did a killer job, bang up job, you know?
Wow.
Good.
And little by little, I just been giving him more and more responsibility,
Mhm.
you know? And like as Joel taught me is like, I'm not really a boss to my guys. I'm more like a coach, you know? We'll coach him. We'll explain to him what to do. I have the guys in my office once a month. We pound our core values. Just recently, I would say about 3 weeks ago, Alanis and my wife, they made up an employee manual, like a hand manual. So now everybody reads through it, they sign it, they know what
Wow.
they're getting into, they know our rules, they know our regulations. So it's all positive. You know, I try to like I had a guy here Sunday to interview because one of my guys had to leave and go back to Virginia. So I was looking for another guy. And he came in the house. He's like, wow, he goes, nobody ever took me in their home, made me sign all these forms, talk to me about their handbook, explain to me what's going on. He goes, this is really professional. And that made me and my wife feel good, you know?
Carfagno professional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Get
he's
it.
working with us today and he's doing a great job.
Good.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
This guy's, I'm just loving everything Joe's saying. Like, I'm just paying attention. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. You know, Joe, knowing how your business and the intricacies of it, let's talk about too, because I know a lot of things are going to help the guys that are listening. What was the mindset of, I would say, obviously starting to learn some processes and things like that. What was the shift of mindset in your marketing as well? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that. Do you agree, Aiden? Like our listeners sometimes struggle with the mindset of like, I need to spend a little bit more or I need to
Yeah.
pay attention to these things. So what was your mindset? Because dude, Joe's got billboards. He's on shopping. Like I'm sure soon he'll be selling underwear with Joe Carfagno Professional Painting. So like tell us a little bit about your mindset shift that you were like, okay, I'm going all in on all these channels. What happened for you for that? And how did that help you?
So I actually was on the phone with Tanner Mullen. And I was asking Tanner, who can I use for a media agency? And he gave me two choices. He gave me Forward Media Marketing or Base Code. He goes, Joe, they're both good companies. He goes, you know, I think you'll fit in real well with Lucas. So I called up Lucas. We had like a demo call and I had really good vibes. Now, a month or two prior to this, I went with this other marketing agency and I spent like $5,000, right? And back then, to me, that was a ton of money. Like I could have broke me. And I got like one lead out of this agency for the whole month. So I got rid of him. Lucas hooked me right up. Like our first day, like getting everything hooked up, getting everything like in his program, it was like 15 minutes and he was done. And
Wow.
like after that, leads just started rolling in. You know, like I remember I started with Lucas with like a $2,500 a month ad spend, you know, or maybe
Yeah.
even less than that.
I
And then
less.
and like now, like we're up to $5,000 a month, like, you know, just with Lucas, you know,
Wow.
and he's doing really well. So
Good, man.
that was a shift. And then, you know, the more leads that came in, so the more money that we will bring in, like I would never just, I would reinvest that. So like now if I'm making more money, what happens if I get a billboard and get put on some shopping carts? Will I get more leads?
Yeah.
Well, I tried that and I did. So more jobs started coming in. So, you know, if my marketing spend now was 3 years ago, I'd be bankrupt. But as the business grows, I want to grow and I want to grow my guys. Like I pay my guys really well. Like I see a lot of the painters around here and what they start their guys like their top guys are what my starting guys start at. Because
Wow.
I believe in taking care of people. If they
Yeah.
take care of me and I take care of them, then they're in turn going to take care of my customers. That's why, every other month we'll have them over our house for a barbecue. Lucy will cook a big meal. Now we have the big shop, so now we meet over there. We play
That's
games.
awesome.
We'll do a lot of things. We
Yeah.
just try to make it a strong culture. And that's we'll play games. We'll do things. And like Justin, Mark. Now Mark started with me probably about a year after Justin, and he was a little shaky at first, I remember about 3.5 years ago, he just walked off my job. Like at 12 o'clock, just left. I didn't even hear from him. I'm
It
like, what happened?
happened.
Yeah, so 2 weeks later, he called me up because I'm sorry I didn't like that guy you were working with. And so we sat down, we took him in the house, and me and my wife, we talked to him, and and he came back to work. And now, Mark, he's my cabinet refinisher, does a bang up job. I have him
Wow.
and one other guy that do a cabinet job every week, and they crush it. You
That's
know?
amazing. Dude,
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is throughout, and this is a credit to Joel as well, is leadership, right? Is really taking guys that they didn't come with the cleanest resume. They didn't come the most equipped with the skills you needed, but they grew with you and you grew them, right? You helped them come to the people that they are now. And, I get a little bit of a glimpse when I see your social media and everybody's having fun, good vibes, and you're creating a culture that it can be without you, and it will be totally fine. And I also want to shout out your wife, Lucy, just an amazing
Yes.
human. I
Oh,
think you
yeah.
guys are the perfect pairing. And, like I want to touch on also like Lucas and bringing kind of that community aspect to it because Ford Media is not just marketing, right? I mean, there's coaching, there's group events, stuff like that. And I think that, along with your mindset with building the culture, it was a perfect fit. So I'm glad that worked out. And obviously the results are in the, pudding. So
Yeah, it's just a great community that I have now, like with Joel, with you, with Lucas, with
yeah,
Tanner. Every once in a while I get a hold of Tanner. He's a great guy to talk to. We just recently hooked up with Jason Phillips, and Nick Kelly and
Mm.
Russell Peets, like all these big hitters. And like I make sure I stay in contact with them now,
Yeah.
because it's like who you surround yourself with, I believe is who you're going to become,
amen.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
quickly shout out our sponsor, just officially name dropped a few of them. DripJobs, guys, get a 60-day free trial on the podcast. PATH 60. That's Path 60, all in one CRM for painters. DripJobs is the way to go. Joe, use DripJobs.
I do.
Come on,
Love them.
come
Yeah.
on. That's
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah.
Nah, this
I
is this
love
is
it.
amazing, man. What's the future for you, Carfagno Painting? What do you got in store, man? Because I feel like in such a small amount of time, you made such progress. I mean, we just talked about 20 years of grind and not getting to where we wanted to be. And then you invested in yourself. You made the right choices. You got in the right circles. And in 2 years, turned everything around. What would you, number one, say to somebody that's looking to do something similar? And where are you going?
So what I would tell somebody looking to do something similar is just never give up, never quit. And your brain is not your friend.
Mm.
No, your brain is going to tell you things that you can't do it, give up, it's not worth it. Just don't listen to your brain. Do what's in your heart, and never quit and get yourself around good people.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself with five crackheads, you're going to be the sixth,
Yeah.
if you surround yourself with five rich people, you'll be the sixth,
Yep.
so it's who you put yourself around. And as for me in my household, I so Justin and I just got back from Connecticut last week. We went to an epoxy applicator program. So I'm meeting with the guy when we get back from Dallas to get some equipment for grinding floors and doing epoxy floors. Lucas is already putting us on a marketing campaign for epoxy floors.
Let's
So
go.
I'm gonna
Carfagno
add
Enterprises.
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna add that. I think I'm gonna get like 2 or 3 guys extra just for that division. And I'll have at that point I'm gonna pull Justin out of painting. Like his job now, and I just told him a few weeks ago is if you want to get out of painting, you need to train someone to do your job. That's not my job. That's your job to train someone to do your job. You know, and once that happens, uh he could do a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like Joel was saying to me last week, why are you still visiting job sites? Like I'm popping on all my job sites. Like today, I was on all of them. You know,
Yeah.
but I don't mind
Creature
talking
of
to the
habit,
customers.
you know?
Yeah. Like I listen. Even in 5, 10 years from now, I'm still going to leave the house at 7, and I'm not coming back till 3:34. That's how I'm built. But it's what I do in those times. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to have to stress. I don't want to have to worry about things. I know they're being taken care of. And like we said earlier in the podcast, I'll have that 10,000-foot view. So if
Yeah.
I see something that needs a little bit of tweaking, I can do it before it gets too bad, before it gets to be a problem, you know? So that's where I'm looking to be. And in 5 years from now, I'm hoping that honestly, like every 60 days, Lucy and we're going
On a
somewhere for
beach?
4 or 5 days. We're out of here, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
Island?
Aiden and I need to link up with you then.
Oh, yeah.
You guys going next? Let's go.
We got to.
Awesome. I wanna mention, guys, I wanna highlight too, if you keep hearing the leadership stuff that he's doing, one thing that we really focused on, and this is something that happened early on, a lot of people don't realize, is Joe is already training his successor. And what people don't realize is this: when you think of the end, you always need to do the processes and systems now, knowing what the end will look like. What is the end goal? Work backwards. And I remember, Joe, you and I talked about it, and we're like, hey, who's going to be your successor? And you said Justin. Justin's taking over this thing. He's gonna one that's gonna take the opportunity on this, right? Like
Mhm.
that was the thing. So your focus has been so big on the people and who's gonna take over, and your actions have been showing that,
Boom.
right? So I kind of wanted to highlight that too, because I think a lot of people right now, when I hear and I collect the data from our viewers and our listeners, a lot of people go, well, I don't know where to go. Well, you don't know where to go because you haven't chosen what the end should look like or could look like.
Yeah.
So I think having a successor is super important, knowing who's taking over my legacy. Because when you know that and you identify that, you take action around that. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
man.
Or am I pretty
Excellent.
close to what happened for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I I think too, it's how you treat your people too. Like, I know a lot of people that kind of work for me and were like, yeah, my boss was an asshole. He just was worried about money
Hmm.
and he was undercutting us. And I learned something from Andy Elliott that said, chase people, not money. And when you
Yes.
chase the people and you treat your employees good and you're a good person, you're gonna make the money. It's gonna come, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So why chase it when it's gonna come to me naturally, you know?
So true. Yeah, I think also, right, like where you're at, had you had tried and I mean, you did it fast, right? But had you tried to skip steps and just get somebody in there and take, leadership ownership of what you got going on, it wouldn't pan out as if you really poured out, took the time, coach your team, get him bought into you, the culture. And
Yep.
now when you make that transition, it's going to be seamless. I
Yeah.
mean, you've been planting this seed for a long time. And like Joel
Mhm.
said, you knew what was going to happen. So you just kept at it, kept at it. So when you pull that trigger, you have such peace of mind when you're on your beach, sipping your cocktail, just like thinking Carfagno Professional Painting is in great hands. I can't wait
Yeah.
for that.
Well, my
Yeah.
guys see that too. Like, when I'm here, they see that I'm always working. I'm not out on the golf course. I'm not,
Yeah.
playing around like, I was at my shop this morning at 6:45. I was on the phone with one of my supervisors and asking what he needed for that day. So
Mhm.
I was at the shop. I can get it for him. I'll get it. Um, and at the end of the day, I talk to all my supervisors. They call me. They send me EOD reports, but I like to hear their voice and their
Yeah.
tone to see how the day really went. They could tell me anything on a text, but if something's going on, I'll be able to hear it in their voice.
Dude, that matters, that little stuff. I was with a corporate company and people would take pay cuts just to work for this company. And every single birthday in the entire company, a lot of people in this company, the owner was like 80, 90 years old, just a super old guy. He would give you a birthday card every single birthday, every single person, handwritten, delivered to you. And that made the biggest difference. And you earn such respect with the guys that are carrying out the tasks every single day just to have that little bit of recognition. You didn't do nothing else, nothing crazy, no money, no
Yeah.
nothing. Just a handwritten card delivered to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard of a guy a long time ago when I started doing this like 2 years ago. Guys have been with me for a while. On their birthdays, I always give them an extra $100.
Boom.
It's your birthday, even if it falls on a Saturday. I'll still take care of you.
That's amazing. Yeah,
And
man.
sometimes you got to understand, right, guys? Like, and we see this often, is that at the end of the day, we're all human, right? And we're in the people business, right? We're in the business of people and leading and making sure we take care of people.
Yeah.
So that's what you're seeing in common when we have you guys on this podcast. Is every single one of you have a vision, you execute the vision, and you take care of your people. It's quite simple, guys, right? And you do that, and of course, implement processes and systems over time. Like, you'll be successful, right? People just want to be heard and seen. And we live in a
Yes.
world that people don't even give time of that,
Yeah.
right? So that's already alone something that is a rarity in our trades, that once we focus on that on our people, like even Aiden said, look at the buy-in from that. It's like, hey, we're here for you. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll stand by you. So that says a lot about you, Joe, and it's really awesome to watch. So it's been fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Question for you, Joe.
Yes.
You've been like in a couple of coaching and kind of educational, like you're going to business syndicates and whatnot. Like, what makes you so confident to double down on that investment and that coaching? And just like, I kind of want to get an idea, because I know before, even when I first got into coaching, somebody pitched me on it and I kind of had my mindset about it. I was like, I don't know, but then when you get in and you get with like good people and you actually see like, wow, there's good stuff that comes out of this, you just double down. So I think you're in that period, right? Or have went through it. Could you talk to me like kind of the mindset shift, like how you saw it first and then where you're at now?
So, I mean, even when I started with Joel, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, wow, back then that was money to me. I'm like, I want to spend this money, and then after meeting with him a few times and then implementing the stuff he taught me, kind of I seen the payback. I seen things really starting to progress and change like and I think for the most part it's mindset and education. It's the only reason why I go to these things, and I think anybody would too, and
Yeah.
like even being with Andy Elliott, like that was he was super into mindset and employee culture, how to treat people, so I learned things from them. And I can tell you one of the things is, and I didn't do it at first, but now I'm doing it more and more, is every time I go to an event or a coaching event, is just take a few things and implement them right away and stay consistent. I think that if I would have been more consistent maybe 2 years ago to where I'm at now, I'd be a lot further ahead. So it's going to these programs, like going to these coaching things and just following through. Like, don't come back. Like you have to come home and change immediately. But everything in your fiber, your moral being, doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because once you get back into your home, right, you fall into that same old comfort pattern. Like, okay, I'm going to work for 8 hours. But I deserve this. Well, no, you don't. If you want to be successful, you don't deserve that. You have to put in the time. If you want a mediocre life, then that's fine. But you see, for me, I don't want to live the way I'm living now 10 years from now. If not, then I don't, what's the use? I just want greatness in everything I do. And I want to be able to help people and do the best I can for the remaining years I have in my life. And
that's Big Joe.
That's what we're going to do.
Stamp it. Come on. I love that. Let me tell you something. Joe decided I am no longer going to be a spectator. I'm going to be a participant. And he's like, I could sit on the background and have my painting business and see all these guys blow up and have success. Or that could be me. I could do it my own way, myself, and figure it out myself, right? And dude, just like you betting on you is the story. That's really it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's also having guys like you, Joel, Lucas, having people in my corner, people I could reach out to, get advice from. I could have never done this on my own. In a million years, would I have the mindset to do what I'm doing unless I would have had coaches? So that's another area that, I could have touched on, is just, being around people who are successful and who are pushing that mindset training on you, and you following through and being consistent is a game changer.
It's interesting, right? Like I want to correct a little bit of it. You still could have done this because it's in you. It's in your innate nature. Just would have taken longer. And I think that's what people don't realize is you guys are all entrepreneurs for a reason. You're built for this, which is really cool. When you have a mentor or a coach, it's just for us to get you there sooner. because we're already foreseeing it before you see it so that you don't have to go through it and you can get to a faster track.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to anchor that for you, because you wouldn't be built with your persistence if you weren't the person that you are. Right. Because you're built for this reason. You're built the way you do it. Just takes longer when you do it on your own. That's all. And I remember our conversation, which is funny. I was still running my companies, right? I had to correct myself, because at the time when I was coaching you, I was still running production. I was still in the field running production, helping my production team here in California. I still was running my companies from Phoenix to Philadelphia. And I just started my coaching program when I first met you, Joe.
Yes.
And I was doing coaching off and on with Tanner. It was when Tanner and I were coaching every other week for FMM. And our first phone call, Lucas just said, "Hey, Joe, dude, you'll love Joe. Just so you know, can you help Joe out?" He just sent up the text and was like, "Joe just needs some help." I remember I was in my polo shirt heading to a job site, and Joe's like, "Hey, man, I'm running in this situation with this bid. How would you handle it?" I remember that phone call.
Yeah.
This is the importance of being with the right people, because I was like, man, I really like this guy.
Yeah.
I was like, who's this Joe guy? And I was busy, man. I was extremely busy. My teams were texting me, calling me while I was doing all this other stuff. And I just remember that day because Lucas confided in me. I gave him my word. Any of your clients, yes, I'm busy, but if you bring them to me, I'll answer any questions that you have. Do you remember that call? I wasn't selling you a product. I wasn't.
Absolutely not. No, I was having a problem with the bid that the guy gave me the job, and then someone else came in like half the price.
Yep.
And then he gave it to them after he signed my contract, and I was pissed.
So I remember that, right? And so on that whole coaching thing, it's a lot of people don't realize, like, that's the type of community we have built, right? And we met Tanner, and Tanner introduced us. This is what happens when you're with the right leaders, right? Because I know certain people have bad taste for certain things in certain programs. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. You just were in the wrong room. That's all, right? And that's important. And I want to be clear about that on the pod, because a lot of people, when they think of mentorship, they think of, oh, well, they're just selling a program. Let me tell you something. If I learned what I know now 7 years ago, knowing my character and how I work, dude, you guys wouldn't be on this call with me. I'd be doing something freaking crazy right now because I would have learned it so early on. I don't know. Maybe I would have had a franchise. I don't know. But I do know I would have been light years ahead if I knew what I know now 7 to 8 years ago. And I really want to highlight that, because I get on calls all the time where guys are like, man, and Joe, this is something that you're going to relate to this, right? Can you imagine this? I've been on a call where a guy called me, and it's a year later after he talked to me. And I was like, how you doing? He's like, I'm actually doing worse than when I first was a year ago when I first met with you on your discovery call. And I'm saying this because look what Joe said. Joe said 2 years I started coaching. I met multiple coaches, because not just me. He was with Andy, Aiden, and I, right? And then he's part of a good network. So look at how fast tracked you were 2 years. It pains me when I hear guys say they're doing worse than when they first talked to me a year ago, because they didn't pull the trigger to find somebody, not even me, just a mentor of sorts. Guys, anyone that's listening right now, stop. No amount of money matters when you're still struggling. Invest in yourself. I don't care if it's a YouTube channel you invested in. Get the knowledge that you need, or subscribe our audio right now and listen to the free gems we give on this podcast. That's the other thing. We give free information on this podcast all the time. Think about that. And people still won't move forward or take action. Joe, again, the difference is you have a story that you don't want that pain anymore. And you made a conscious decision. You said, enough's enough. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to build this thing finally, right? And when I say that, what comes up for you? And I say this because I'm getting amped up, and I know you know what I'm talking about. What's that fire burning inside you now that you're just like, enough's enough?
Yeah, I mean, so back then, and I think a lot of people too, just starting out, like, they put too much value on money. Like, money is just a tool to get you where you need to be, and that's how I look at it now. Like, I'm not wealthy beyond any means, but I don't worry about anything. Like, my bills are paid, right? I don't have to check my account every day. I don't worry if I'm going to take my wife out to dinner. I don't worry if we're going to go away. I don't sweat that stuff. I don't worry. Money is a tool for me. And I don't view it as something that if I'm going to spend $6,000 on a coaching program, is that going to break me? No, that's going to help me. It may not help me that first 2 months, but it's going to pay off in dividends down the road, you know? So I just
Now,
don't look at, I think a lot of these guys look at the immediate uh, goals, what they're going to get. If I'm going to spend 5,000, am I going to make 5,000 in 2 weeks? No, you have to sit on it. You know, it's like investing in the stock market, right? It's going to pay off. It's going to compound. So like Joel, Aiden, Andy, Lucas, you guys are all compound interest for me. You know?
That's
I
amazing.
love that.
I do want to offer a perspective on that too, and this is for anybody listening, right? I think there are two types of people, right? There is the guy who has a little bit of money and is very disciplined, right? And he knows that it's a strategic investment. Like, hey, I'm going to sign up with Joel, and I know, right? He's going to get me where I need to be. I'm going to follow through with it, and I'm going to be his best case study, right? That's one type of guy. There's another type of guy who's been doing the same thing for so long and he needs to get put against the wall. Personally, when I first started, that was me. I needed to get put against the wall and have a fire lit under my ass so I could come in clutch and be like, tell me what to freaking do. I'm going to execute because I got nothing to lose right now. Like I'm playing with nothing in my bank account. I just gave it to you, you know? Some people need that to be put against the wall or they won't get out of their comfort zone to make changes. So I know there's a lot of people that are a little bit hesitant. And it's like at the same time, you know, when I was talking with Alex, right? And he goes, I say, hey, man, like when people tell me about the money thing, a lot of times I feel for them, right? And they're like, dude, I just don't got the money, you know? Like I love what you're here or you're saying. It's not the money. And I told that to Alex, and Alex goes, okay, ask me that. And I said, all right, Alex, yeah, I'm on a little sales call, discovery call with you. I just don't have the money. And he goes, okay, how long have you been telling yourself that? That was different. When I heard that, I mean, think of it. How many times in your life and through that type of person have they been saying that to themselves, right? At a certain point, you got to switch something. Something's got to change. You got to put your back against the wall in some way to make
No,
a change.
most definitely. Yeah. I mean, if guys call you, right? If guys call you, Aiden, guys call you, Joel, for a discovery call for coaching, right? They're calling you for a reason, right? They need help,
Yeah.
right? But what's stopping them, right? And what I said earlier, it's their brain. Their brain is not their friend. Their brain is going to tell them, don't spend money with this guy. Get in the bank, man.
Yeah.
Don't give Joel any money. You know?
So
But
true. So true.
you have to go against. I think you have to be uncomfortable.
Mhm.
You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, you know?
That's how you
And I
grow. Get out of
yeah,
your comfort
and I
zone.
try to make myself uncomfortable at least once a day, you know? I try to do something, you know?
Yeah.
Normally, you know, after this podcast at 5:00, you know, I'd be putting on my sweats and I'd be done. But I don't do that now. Now, you know, like we'll have dinner. I want to go for a walk with my wife, you know, I'm gonna leave my phone at home and, you know, we go for a half-hour walk, 15 minutes, she'll brain dump on me, and on the way back, I get to do it to her.
That's got to
I
be so
love it.
helpful for your relationship too, man. That's amazing. Good,
Yeah.
man. Good. Do you got anything for our community, for the viewers? You've been so awesome so far, man. What do you got?
Me? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Share
you were
some
talking to
wisdom,
Joe.
man. What do you got? Last words.
So I would say that if anybody's just starting out and they're thinking of investing in a coach, don't think about it. Just do it, you know, and follow the steps that they tell you, you know, and be consistent. Don't quit. Your back is going to be against the wall a lot. You know, like I can't tell you there's days that, you know, I just want to put my head in my hands and like, you know, why am I doing this? But it pays off, you know. There's not many days that happens, you know, but they do happen. That's business, you know. So you got to take the ups with the downs, you know, and just stay consistent in whatever you do.
Good
I love
stuff.
that. Mr. Aiden, I got a quote today finally.
Here we go.
All right.
Let's go.
I love it. Joe, first of all, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
You're absolutely a
guys, man.
blessing, and your wife as well. Lucy's amazing. And guys, if you guys hear this podcast, anytime you see him at PCA, PaintCon, Joe is very active in all those events. Make sure you say hi to Joe. Ask him any questions. I know Joe will be more than happy to answer them for you
Amen.
and give the same wisdom that he received as well. So real quick, before I go on the quote, where can they find you, Joe, real fast?
Oh, so on social media, Carfagno professionalpainting.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you know, my website. You know,
Let's go. He's everywhere.
we're all over the place.
Yeah, we'll link it below as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
good.
All right, guys. I think this was a perfect quote I had to come up with here for today. It was great. It was a line. While others wait for permission, leaders paint their own.
Amen. Yeah.
I paint the path.
That's
There it is.
All right, guys. Joe, thank you so much, brother. Joe,
Thank
always a
you,
pleasure.
brother. Joe,
Talk soon.
see you Wednesday, baby.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.